The misunderstood message. The exploration vessel Harmony's Edge drifted through the void at the edge of the Sol system, its bioluminescent hull pulsing with the gentle rhythm of Kepler technology. Captain Vextar, a seasoned explorer from the Kepler Confederation, studied the star charts with growing excitement. Sol was marked as a Category M system, home to a minor species that had joined the Confederation decades ago, before mysteriously withdrawing from galactic affairs. Science Officer Thielen initiates standard first contact protocols. Vextar commanded, his forearms dancing across the organic control surfaces. Even though these humans are already catalogued, we must follow procedure for stellar cartography. Missions. The Harmony's Edge had been tasked with mapping gravitational anomalies in this sector. But the Sol system presented unique challenges. The third planet showed signs of massive industrial development, yet no space traffic. No orbital stations appeared on sensors. For a species that had once maintained embassies on 12 worlds, Earth seemed strangely quiet. Thielen-S tentacles interfaced with the communication array, preparing the standard scientific inquiry. In the universal trade language of the Confederation, the message was simple. Kepler Confederation vessel requesting safe passage for stellar mapping operations. Please acknowledge and provide current navigation hazards. The message transmitted across the void, traveling at faster than light speeds toward the blue-green world that hung like a jewel in the darkness. What Captain Vextar didn't know was that Earth's defense network had been watching his ship since it entered the system's outer edge, deep beneath the Pacific Ocean. In a facility that officially didn't exist, Admiral Sarah Chen received the automated alert. The message had passed through 17 different translation matrices before reaching human understanding. Each AI system, each linguistic protocol, each defensive filter had added its own interpretation to the alien words. By the time the message reached Admiral Chen's screens, it read, Kepler forces demanding immediate passage. Submit all defensive positions. Acknowledge planetary surrender. Compliance required. The Admiral's blood ran cold. 50 years ago, humanity had withdrawn from the Confederation not out of fear, but out of necessity. The galaxy had no idea what Earth truly was. They saw humans as useful diplomats, skilled engineers, adaptable colonies. They never suspected that Earth was doing them a favor by staying quiet. DEFCON 1, Admiral Chen's voice echoed through the command center. This is not a drill. Unknown, hostile, demanding planetary surrender. Activate Project Watchdog. Across Earth's surface, hidden installations came online. Satellites that had appeared to be defunct communication relays suddenly blazed with targeting sensors. The abandoned International Space Station, left to decay in orbit for decades, split open like a flower to reveal a plasma cannon array powerful enough to crack a moon. On the Harmony's Edge, Captain Vextar waited patiently for Earth's response. His species had made contact with hundreds of worlds, and the process was always the same. A greeting, some bureaucratic exchanges, then permission to conduct their scientific work. The response came without warning, a lance of superheated plasma, invisible until it struck, vaporized the Harmony's Edge in a microsecond. The ship's bioluminescent hull flared once, brilliantly, then scattered into component atoms. No debris remained. No distress call was transmitted. The Kepler vessel simply ceased to exist. 12 light-years away, the Confederation monitoring station lost contact with the Harmony's Edge at precisely 14:37 Galactic Standard Time. Fleet Commander Krestow, a veteran of the Rim Wars, frowned at the sudden silence. Equipment failures happened, but complete communication loss was rare. "Dispatch rescue flotilla Gamma 7, he ordered. 12 ships, full sensor suite. If the Harmony's Edge has encountered navigational hazards, we need to know. The rescue flotilla consisted of the finest ships in the Confederation fleet. Each vessel was a masterpiece of organic engineering, grown rather than built, their hulls capable of self-repair and adaptation. The flotilla commander, Captain Yulseth, had rescued dozens of stranded vessels across the galaxy. As the 12 ships dropped out of hyperspace at Sol's Edge, their sensors immediately detected the debris field where the Harmony's Edge should have been, but this wasn't debris from an accident. The molecular dispersal pattern indicated directed energy weapons of unprecedented power. "This is Captain Yulseth of the Confederation vessel Gentle Current," the rescue commander transmitted. "Toward Earth. We have detected the destruction of one of our vessels. Please respond and clarify your intentions." The response came from everywhere at once. Hidden platforms that had masqueraded as asteroids suddenly blazed with weapons fire. The moon itself seemed to crack open as massive railguns emerged from concealed launch bays. What the aliens had, mistaken for orbital debris, revealed itself as a network of automated defense drones, each one armed with technology that shouldn't have existed. The battle, if it could be called that, lasted exactly 4 minutes and 37 seconds. Gentle Current was the first to die. Its biohull, unable to withstand the focused fury of 17 different weapon systems. Plasma beams cooked its interior while kinetic penetrators punched through its adaptive armor like paper. The ship's death scream echoed across subspace before being cut short. Captain Yulseth's final transmission reached the Confederation fleet. "Command, they were waiting for us. This isn't a primitive world. This is a fortress system. They've been hiding their true nature. Send everything we..." The transmission ended as the Gentle Current joined the expanding debris field. The remaining 11 ships tried to retreat, but Earth's defense network had anticipated this. Automated hunter-killer drones, each one no larger than a fighter but armed with miniaturized fusion warheads, swarmed the fleeing vessels. The drones moved with inhuman precision, their AI guidance systems calculating intercept courses faster than organic minds could process. One by one, the rescue flotilla died. The healing stream lasted longest, its captain desperately trying to transmit a warning to the Confederation. But even as the ship's hull began to buckle under sustained fire, its message was being jammed by Earth's electronic warfare systems. In the command center beneath the Pacific, Admiral Chen watched the tactical display with grim satisfaction. 12 more red dots blinked out of existence. The Sol system was secure, but the price of that security was about to become clear. "Admiral," reported Lieutenant Commander Rodriguez, "we're detecting massive fleet movements in the Kepler home systems. They're mobilizing everything." Chen nodded grimly. "They still don't understand. They think we're just another aggressive species that needs to be contained. They have no idea what they're about to face." She turned to the communication officer. "Prepare a message for transmission to the Confederation Fleet Command. Single word. Leave." The message was sent on all frequencies, in every language Earth's databases contained, but Chen knew it would be ignored. The Confederation had never encountered a species that could threaten their technological superiority. They would interpret Earth's warning as bluster from a primitive world that had gotten lucky. 20-4 hours later, the largest fleet in Confederation history began its journey toward the Sol system. Fleet Admiral Kreshtal commanded from the dreadnought Inevitable Victory, a bioship the size of a small moon. Behind him came 200 vessels, each one a masterpiece of alien engineering. The third battle group had never faced defeat in 3 centuries of service, as the massive fleet prepared to teach humanity a lesson about challenging the established order. Earth's defense network made its final preparations. Hidden shipyards that had been secretly constructed over 5 decades began launching their products. Weapon platforms that had masqueraded as deep space. Research stations powered up their primary systems. The galaxy was about to learn why humanity had chosen isolation. They were about to discover what Earth had been building in the shadows, while the rest of the universe assumed they were a peaceful, minor species. The Confederation fleet jumped to hyperspace, confident in their overwhelming superiority. They believed they were hunting a wounded animal that had gotten lucky. They had no idea they were approaching the den of a sleeping apex predator. Earth waited in the darkness, its true nature about to be revealed. Asterisk. The sleeping giants Ratha, Confederation's third battle group, emerged from hyperspace like a rising tide of destruction. 200 vessels, each one a living weapon grown from the finest biotechnology the galaxy had ever produced, arranged themselves in perfect formation at the edge of the Sol system. At their center, the dreadnought Inevitable Victory pulsed with organic power, its kilometer-long hull crackling with energy fields that could vaporize entire moons. Fleet Admiral Crestal stood in the command chamber, his multiple eyes surveying the tactical display with cold satisfaction. The Sol system lay before them, apparently defenseless. No fleet rose to meet them. No communication arrived begging for mercy. Just silence from the small blue world that had dared to destroy Confederation vessels. Communications Officer Veltar broadcast on all frequencies, Crestal commanded, his voice carrying the weight of absolute authority. This is Fleet Admiral Crestal of the Kepler Confederation, 3rd Battle Group. You have destroyed our vessels and ignored our diplomatic overtures. Surrender immediately or face the consequences. The response came 30 seconds later, transmitted from the depths of the Sol system on a frequency that cut through every jamming system the Confederation possessed. The message was simple, delivered in perfect Kepler standard by a voice that carried no fear, no emotion, only cold certainty. This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the Terran Defense Force. You have entered our system uninvited and with hostile intent. You have one opportunity to leave. Turn around now, or join the debris field. Crestal's mandibles clicked in what passed for laughter among his species. Terran Defense Force. Our intelligence indicates this world has no military capability. Their last recorded fleet action was 50 years ago during the Rim conflicts, where they served as support vessels. Science Officer Droolman consulted the biological computer interface embedded in his thorax. Admiral, our records show humanity as a minor species. Population 12 billion, single system, no significant military technology. They withdrew from the Confederation due to internal political disputes, not military capability. Then they have learned to bluff impressively, Crestal replied. Begin the attack. Target their major population centers. We'll demonstrate the cost of defying the Confederation. The order rippled through the fleet. 200 ships began their advance, weapon systems charging, biohulls shifting to optimal combat configuration. The Inevitable Victory led the charge, its primary weaponer, gravity manipulator, capable of crushing planets, beginning its activation sequence. What happened next would be remembered throughout the galaxy as the moment everything changed. The Attack began from the asteroid belt, where mining operations had apparently been abandoned decades ago. Massive industrial lasers, originally designed to cut through asteroid rock, suddenly pivoted toward the incoming fleet. But these weren't the simple mining tools they appeared to be. 50 years of secret modifications had transformed them into weapons of unprecedented power. The first laser struck the Confederation cruiser Flowing River at a range of 2 astronomical units. The beam, focused through crystalline arrays hidden within hollowed-out asteroids, delivered the equivalent energy of a small star. The cruiser's biohull, evolved to withstand the rigors of space combat, simply evaporated. But the asteroid belt was only the beginning. The moon, Luna, which had appeared dead and lifeless through Confederation sensors, suddenly cracked open. Like an egg, massive railguns, built into the lunar surface and disguised as impact craters, emerged from their concealment. Each gun was the size of a city block, capable of accelerating tungsten projectiles to a significant fraction of light speed. The railguns fired in perfect synchronization, their targeting controlled by AI systems that had been calculating firing. Solutions since the fleet's arrival, 17 projectiles, each one carrying the kinetic energy of a nuclear weapon, streaked across the solar system faster than organic minds could track. The dreadnought Inevitable Victory was struck by 3 projectiles simultaneously. The first punctured its biohull like tissue paper. The second shattered its primary weapon array. The third detonated its reactor core, creating a miniature sun that briefly outshone Sol itself. Fleet Admiral Crestal had enough time to realize his mistake before the expanding fireball consumed his flagship. In his final moment, he understood the truth that the galaxy had forgotten. Humanity had never joined the Confederation for protection. They had joined to protect everyone else. From themselves, the remaining fleet scattered in panic, but Earth's defense network was far from finished. Automated manufacturing stations, hidden within the rings of Saturn and disguised as scientific research outposts, began launching their products. Millions of hunter-killer drones, each one no larger than a fighter but armed with fusion warheads, swarmed through the solar system like an angry hive. The drones moved with inhuman precision, their AI guidance systems sharing targeting data in real. They didn't just attack, they anticipated, calculated, and executed maneuvers that would have been impossible for organic pilots. Within minutes, the space around Earth became a killing field of coordinated destruction. Captain Morsith of the cruiser Peaceful Depths watched in horror as his escorts were systematically destroyed. His ship's biohull was adapting to the energy weapons, growing thicker armor, developing hit-resistant scales. But the human weapons kept changing too, switching from plasma to kinetic to electromagnetic attacks faster than his ship could evolve. There, not just defending, he transmitted to the surviving ships. They're hunting us. Every weapon system is coordinated. This isn't a planetary defense. It's a trap that's been decades in the making. The truth was even more disturbing. For 50 years, while the galaxy had assumed Earth was quietly developing its economy and culture, humanity had been building the most sophisticated military network in known space. Every satellite, every space station, every seemingly abandoned facility had been part of a vast defensive web. The International Space Station, left to decay in orbit for decades, revealed its true purpose as its hull split open. Inside, powerful plasma cannon arrays had been growing, fed by automated systems that had been mistaken for maintenance drones. The station's AI had been learning, adapting, preparing for this moment. Jupiter's moons, supposedly used for gas mining operations, suddenly blazed with weapons fire. The mining facilities were actually mass drivers, capable of hurling asteroids at relativistic speeds. Ganymede, Europa, and Io had been transformed into forward weapon platforms, their surfaces concealing enough firepower to sterilize worlds. The battle became a rout. Ships that had ruled the galaxy for centuries found themselves outmatched by weapons they couldn't understand, and tactics they couldn't counter. The Confederation fleet, which had entered the system confident in their technological superiority, was being systematically annihilated by a species they had considered primitive. Captain Zillan of the destroyer Swift Current managed to break free from the killing field, her ship's biohull barely holding together under the strain. She transmitted a desperate message to Confederation Command. This isn't a minor species. This is an apex predator that's been pretending to be prey. They've been building weapons in secret for decades. The entire system is a fortress. Send everything we have, or evacuate this entire sector. The message was cut short as a swarm of hunter-killer drones caught up with her ship. The Swift Current joined the expanding debris field that had once been the pride of the Confederation. Fleet in the command center beneath the Pacific, Admiral Chen watched the tactical display with grim satisfaction. Of the 200 ships that had entered the system, only 12 remained. They were fleeing in all directions, their commanders finally understanding the magnitude of their mistake. "Shall we pursue, Admiral?" asked Lieutenant Commander Rodriguez. Chen shook her head. "No, let them go. They need to tell the galaxy what they've seen here. The message needs to be clear. Earth is not to be disturbed." As the surviving Confederation ships limped away from the Sol system, Earth transmitted a final message to the galaxy. It was broadcast on every frequency, in every language, ensuring that no species could claim ignorance. "This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the Terran Defense Force. For 50 years, Earth has maintained peaceful isolation while developing our defensive capabilities. We have no interest in conquest or expansion. We wish only to be left alone. But any species that approaches our system with hostile intent will discover why we are classified as a Deathworld. This is your only warning." The message rippled across the galaxy at faster-than-light speeds, carried by survivors and automated relay stations. Within days, every major power knew the truth. Humanity had never been a minor species. They had been the apex predator, choosing to remain hidden until threatened. The Confederation Council met in emergency session on the capital world of Kepler. Prime, the surviving fleet commanders told their stories of weapons that defied understanding, of an entire star system transformed into a fortress, of a species that had spent half a century preparing for this moment. "We always wondered why they withdrew from galactic affairs," admitted Council Leader Orbital. "We assumed it was internal politics. We never suspected they were protecting us from themselves." The galaxy learned a new respect for the small blue world at the edge of the Orion Arm. Trade routes were rerouted to avoid the Sol system. Exploration missions were cancelled. The Confederation issued a standing order. No ship was to approach Earth without explicit permission from the Terran Defense Force. But perhaps the most telling change was in the way other species spoke of humanity. They were no longer called humans or Terrans or Earth dwellers. They were simply known as the ones who sleep but watch, a species that had chosen peace but never forgotten the art of war. Earth returned to its silence, its weapons systems powered down but never dismantled. The galaxy continued its commerce, its politics, its conflicts, but always with the knowledge that somewhere in the darkness humanity waited. not as conquerors, but as guardians of a terrible peace. Admiral Chen stood in her command center, watching the stars through the reinforced observation deck. The battle was over, but the real victory was in what hadn't happened. The galaxy would leave Earth alone, and humanity could continue its chosen path of isolation and development. "Stand down to DEFCON 3, she ordered. "Maintain standard monitoring protocols, and begin preparations for the next phase of Project Watchdog." The Sol system returned to its apparent quiet, but now the galaxy knew the truth. Earth wasn't sleeping. It was simply waiting, ready to remind the universe what a Deathworld could do when properly motivated. The message had been sent. The demonstration was complete. And somewhere in the void, 12 surviving ships carried the story that would keep the galaxy at a respectful distance for generations to come. One wrong transmission had awakened a sleeping giant. The galaxy would be much more careful about translation errors in the future.